So I see a lot of people who are trying to repair their relationships, getting involved in texting their partner or their ex-partner and not realizing how much damage texting, emails, letters can do to a relationship when you're trying to repair relationships. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why you should stop texting, emailing, and sending letters to repair your relationship and what you should do instead. You know, when a relationship is in a tough patch or going through a difficult time, it's normal to want to increase communication to try to repair some of the discords and challenges that you're going through. And while it's important to rebuild communication, oftentimes it's done in a really ineffective way that actually causes more damage. And one of these ways is through text. Now, obviously, if communication is broken down, texting can kind of feel like the last resort, the only way to throw a lifeline out to your partner or your ex-partner in order to try to repair the relationship. But the problem is that texting can lose a lot of nuance that is required to rebuild a relationship. So if you think about it, when it comes to communication, there's a lot of different options. There's in-person conversations, there's audio messages, there's voice calls, there's texting, there's letters, all this sort of stuff. So all of it can kind of feel like this is just a way of getting words across to another person, right? It kind of feels like they're all pretty similar. However, they are not. There is actually more effective communication methods than texting, but I want to break down specifically why texting and letters, etc., is going to cause a lot more damage. So the way to sort of think about communication media is to sort of look at the different qualities that it brings. So there are 3 different qualities to look at when it comes to relationship repair communication. There is the synchronousness, which is a real word that I found out recently, and I'll break down what that means in a second. There is the audible tone, and there is the visible tone or the visual tone of the communication. And it's important to take into account these 3 factors as to why they have an impact on the relationship repair and rebuilding trust within your relationship. The very first one is synchronousness. So synchronousness is basically how real-time the communication is. A lot of people think that text messaging is in real time, especially if you're texting back and forth. But if you think about it, text messages or emails or letters are asynchronous. It is impossible to have 2 text messages sent and read at exactly the same time. So they are always asynchronous. And the distance between each message, whether it's a sent message or a received message, can vary quite wildly. So they are very asynchronous. They're not in real time, even though there can be moments when it feels more real time. So the reason why text messages in terms of the real timeness of it matters is that if you think about it, text messages can be planned, can be scripted. You can spend 2 minutes thinking through your response before you send it. Now, this may not seem like a lot of time, and this may even feel like real time to you, but if you think about rebuilding trust with a partner, that amount of time actually does make a difference. Because if you think about it, when trust is broken, there is a lot of empty space that needs to be filled in by your partner's mind. So even though you may not be planning or scripting these messages, there is the potential chance of that happening. And especially in a world of AI can write them, edit them, do all sorts of stuff, can take over messages. So in an age of AI, when it comes to text messaging specifically, a lot of people use AI to tidy up, to polish, to take all the rough edges off. So the trust of text in general is actually going down. So the lack of real-time nature of text messaging to repair a relationship has a big impact on the trust level. But also, if you think about it, the flow of text messages back and forth, especially for important conversations, emotional conversations about a relationship, or just trying to connect with someone, it doesn't have an organic rhythm. Text messages, it's very rare that people will sit down and have their phone in front of them having this text message conversation with nothing else going on. You're doing them in between driving, hopefully not while you're driving, but you know, during work, at the gym, having conversations with other people. It doesn't have an organic rhythm. So the timing, again, the synchronousness of the back and forth doesn't have an organic rhythm. And this means that focus is going to be split on both sides. So focus is going to be split when you are texting, but it's also going to be split when your partner is receiving these messages as well. So they can glance over and read something, misread it, because they're doing something else, or they're just about to do something else, or another notification popped up. So focus is going to be split, but it's also going to be split for you as well when it comes to writing these messages. So you're not going to be able to get into this organic flow that is really important for rebuilding back trust within a relationship. And ultimately, it means that any serious conversations, any emotionally charged conversations, even logistical conversations are going to be around life events, right? Text messages, emails, letters, they're always done around other things. It's not a deliberate practice very often. So the synchronousness of this is really important. And the less real time the conversation that you have, the less trust it will rebuild within the relationship. But most of all, text messages also have the ability to bombard with words, long pages, etc., and overstep boundaries. So texting, letters, emails give you the ability to be able to just get every single thing out of your mind onto text, into your partner's consciousness, without any challenging, without any interruptions, without any pushback or conversation. It allows you to essentially give a lecture at any point. And this can destroy trust really badly. I've actually done a deeper dive video on sending what I call the letter, which I'll link to above and in the description down below. But oftentimes when a breakup happens or a relationship's going through challenges, people send this long-winded letter, which can break down trust even further between you both. So the synchronousness of communication is really, really important. And text messaging, emails, letters have a very low quality synchronousness. But then there's also the audible tone. So the sound of your voice is really important. If you think about it this way, there is no audible tone in text messaging, in letters, in emails. I can't hear whether the tone of your voice is happy, whether it's sad, whether it's angry, whether it's guilty. There is nothing to go on, right? So your partner, when they receive these texts or letters, they're going to read your tone through their most recent experiences. So if you've been having arguments for the past 5 weeks, even the nicest messages are going to be read through their recent experiences on the current evidence that they have as to your emotional level, right? So there is not going to be any counter evidence to their existing view. So if you've been needy for the past 5 weeks, if you've been pushy or ridden with guilt over the past few months, they will remember the tone from those conversations of how you acted. But with text messages, there is no counter evidence to that tone. So they're going to read things and hear things through the tone that they have experienced very recently. This is not about blaming your partner for misunderstanding you. This is about understanding how the brain works, and the brain is looking for evidence to support or counter their current view. So there's no counter evidence for your partner to start changing their mind about how different you are. So it means that they will likely see the relationship in the same way that it has been going for the past few months. And this is dangerous because even neutral messages can be misinterpreted, seen as riddled with guilt, riddled with neediness, riddled with anger, shouting, raising your voice, etc. All of these neutral messages can be misinterpreted very, very heavily. So the audible tone, when you're trying to repair a relationship, is really, really important. So this is why texting, emails, etc. are very, very low quality communication. But it also matters for you. It can be difficult to read your partner's tone as well. So as you're reading text messages, they may be saying quite nice things, they may be saying quite positive things, and you're reading them as negative. You're reading them as pushing back against you. You're reading them as sarcastic or mean, etc. So it can be difficult to read your partner's tone. They also may be trying to give some constructive criticism or feedback, etc. on the relationship, and you may be completely ignoring it because you don't know what your partner's tone is, right? So your brain works in exactly the same way, and it's going to be very difficult for you to read their tone as well. So the chance of misinterpretations of what is being said on both sides is very, very high because there is no audible tone. They cannot hear the tone of your voice. They have no idea as to what your current emotions are. And again, the trust is not going to be rebuilt through text messages. But then, most of all, there's the visual tone. This is the most important thing because this is the stuff that really cannot be faked. With audio, most people can do a pretty good job of acting, being able to fake happiness, fake interest, fake not being hurt. So even audio can be quite easily faked, but visuals is very, very different. There's no visual tone within text messages or emails, etc. And the reason why it's so important is that your partner cannot see your micro expressions on your face. So micro expressions are extremely brief, involuntary facial expressions that last around a quarter of a second. So if someone is angry, if someone is upset, sometimes we can speak to them and subconsciously something can be off about what they're saying. So they may be saying happy things, they may even have a happy tone in their voice, but there is something off about their face that is saying something different. And this triggers kind of the lizard part of our brain that says something is off. So in text messages and emails and letters, your partner cannot see those micro expressions on your face. So it is impossible to tell if you are simply faking these emotions. So because that strong counter evidence isn't there, their brain is going to default to their current interpretation, which is things are going to go badly. They're still the same person. They're just kind of faking it, right? So again, this may not be a conscious decision, but it can be a subconscious decision because our brains are attuned to danger. So even if they give you the benefit of the doubt, even if they consciously say, okay, I think that they may have changed. I think that they may be calm. I think that they may be doing things differently. They simply cannot confirm that and fully trust and fully start to buy in to a new version of the relationship until they can feel the evidence. And this is what's really important, is that our brains can logic our way through a decision so far, but in order to truly accept and make a full decision, our nervous system needs to feel that evidence. And that simply cannot happen without seeing the visual tone, the micro expressions on your face and having and building up that evidence over time to know truly and that you are going to handle conversations and the relationship very differently moving forward. So again, because of these text messages, the chance of misinterpretations is very, very high. So this is why, why I talk about on this channel a lot about emotional regulation and your interpretations and your mindsets, etc. This is why I talk about this, is because people look for words to say, but words are only part of the equation. When it comes to repairing a relationship and building trust, when it comes to buying into a relationship long term, our brains need a very high standard of trust. And this is why, when I work with members, that we don't just work on words, because words are only the tip of the iceberg. And just before I move further, if you do want to join us and join the members and I in working together, then start with my relationship bootcamp. This is where all of my members start learning the fundamentals of relationships in order to repair them long term. All you have to do is click on the link in the description if you want to grab your spot. So if you think about it this way, when it comes to contact through text messages, letters, emails, etc., here in the center is an accurate interpretation, but it leaves such a wide area for possible interpretations, i.e. misinterpretations, inaccurate interpretations of what is being said. And this is very risky. So it's not that text messages will not repair your relationship. It's just that you're leaving so many things up to chance. And when you're repairing a relationship, my question is, why would you want to leave so much up to chance when things can be done differently? So text messages, so texting and emails, etc., is very risky for repairing a relationship. And with something so important, I would not want to leave that much up to risk. Because ultimately, your partner and their brain, subconsciously, consciously, is going to be asking a lot of questions about the potential relationship. Are they needy? Are they begging? Are they bragging? Are they showing off? Are they pressuring? Are they angry? Are they panicked? Are they desperate? Are they calm? Are they composed? Are they thoughtful? Are they kind? So your partner's brain is going to be looking for these, both audio and visually. All of these senses are going to be heightened when it comes to repairing a relationship during this process, because your partner doesn't want to fall back into the same relationship that didn't work. They want to join a new relationship that is going to be different, that is going to be better for both of you. So your partner's brain is going to be asking all of these questions. So texting is not going to be able to answer these questions fully. But then a lot of people will jump in saying, but my partner will only speak in text. My partner does not want to have in-person conversations with me. My partner doesn't want to talk on the phone. They will only speak in text. This is a really important point, and a lot of people will see this as a kind of moment of defeat. The relationship is impossible to be repaired because we can only speak in text and we can't have deep, long conversations. But it's important to understand why your partner only wants to speak in text. Understanding this is going to be the turning point for the relationship. Now, I can't jump into it fully here in just this YouTube video. I've spoken about it a little bit more on other videos, which I'll link to up above. But the most important thing you can do now is to show your partner that you can understand why they may only want to speak in text. This takes a lot of digging, a lot of understanding of your actions, the impact your actions have had, your partner's feelings, etc. But asking yourself, why would they only want to speak in text? Rather than feeling like you're a victim of them or you are somehow hard done to, actually asking yourself, why would they only want to speak in text? What is it about in-person conversations? What is it about phone conversations with me that they may not want to experience? It's important to do this digging and to be able to validate on those feelings. So being able to show your partner and say to your partner, hey, you know, I can understand why you don't want to meet up with me right now, why you don't want to have deep conversations. I think that the way that I handled conversations in the past probably triggered a lot of feelings in you. So I can totally understand why you'd probably only want to speak about logistics right now and keep it on text message only, just about the essential kind of stuff. I think I can understand why. Obviously, don't use that as a script. Make sure that you are specific about your role. You know, I have a lot of videos on the channel about where you can look for where you may have been ineffective in conversations or within the relationship. So make sure that you're digging into the specifics of you rather than just using this as some generic script to say to your partner. The more specific you are, the more it will show your partner through actions that there may be a chance of a relationship being different because you're actually showing change rather than talking about change. But also making sure that you're de-escalating any pressure to have any emotional talks, especially in text messages. So rather than trying to force a square peg into a round hole and trying to have emotional talks on text messages, doing the exact opposite, doing the inverse of it, and actually acknowledging that text messages aren't the best place to have emotional talks, period. This de-escalates the pressure with your partner as to having these awkward conversations that are ineffective for everyone and actually acknowledging this is not the right media to have these conversations. But also making sure that you are committing to the self-work in order to have much better quality communication. Being a lot more deliberate with your communication is going to be really important for your partner to see those changes. If you are actively taking action on choosing to do things differently rather than just making promises or telling your partner that you're going to do things differently, this will have an impact on the way that they see the potential relationship. So if you're making the commitment for self-work to change the way you communicate, this allows your partner to feel more likely that they can trust you because you're acknowledging the weakness in this communication, if this makes any sense. But obviously this is not about shutting down conversations completely, still being able to leave the door open to potentially chat on a call in the future if your partner feels like it. So these two things go together. Committing to self-work and then leaving the door open to potentially chat kind of go hand in hand. So you're not pressuring to have chats, but you're also making sure that when these conversations happen in the future, and in my experience, if you're putting in the self-work, it's very rare for there not to be an opportunity to have in-person or at least on a call conversations in the future. But making sure that you're leaving that door open to potentially chat. So you're not shutting down conversations. You're basically saying, I would like to work on things. And when we do have those talks, I want it to be meaningful and to be very high quality. So this is a big mindset shift to make sure that you are shifting over to what is important and effective rather than just scrabbling around trying to have some sort of communication that is causing more and more damage to the relationship. And then obviously the most important step is to make sure that you're following through on those changes, making those changes both internally, like we said about, you know, your micro expressions and your tone and your voice, etc., but also the externally, the communication itself. Now, I've done a deeper dive video on how important your internal states, your mindsets, your emotions are on having high value communication. So it's important to understand how much your internal state affects your external state and the way that you approach conversations in the future. So I'll leave you with that deeper dive video and I will see you over there.